Yes.
Lovely, thank you. Item 1 is apologies for absence. I've got apologies from Councillor Matthew Jones and Francesca O'Brien, and also Beth Allender, who's a co-opted member. Do we have any other apologies at all? No? Okay, thank you. For the benefit of those who have joined the meeting online, I'm going to ask those in the glossary room to introduce themselves one by one. So, Stuart, can we start with you, please? And work down.
Yes, Stuart Davis, Head of Hose and Transport. Thank you.
Mark Wade, Director of Place.
Councillor Wendy Lewis, Wanalai Ward.
Debbie Smith, Legal Advisor.
Good afternoon, Samantha Woon, Democratic Services.
Good afternoon, Bridge Meadowhouse, Scrutiny, our team.
And I'm Peter Black. So that's all the ones in the room, and everyone else is online. So welcome, everybody. Item 2 is disclosures of personal and prejudicial interest. Does anyone have anything they wish to declare? No? Okay. And item 3 is prohibition of whip votes and declaration of party whips. So nothing there either. So let's move on to the minutes of the last meeting. And item 4, to approve the correct records. So I'll go. This is related to the last meeting about tackling poverty and also support for businesses. So I'll go through the pages one by one for accuracy. Page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, and page 6. Can I take it people are happy that those minutes are accurate? Thank you. I should say. Okay. So public question time. We haven't had any public questions yet. Just to add for those, in terms of introducing people in the room, Peter May is here as well. So we had just had people introduce themselves, Peter. So welcome. Okay. Right. So moving on to item 5, public question time. We haven't had any questions. So I'm going to move on to item 6, which is the question and answer with the lead. I think Rob is online. I think I see Rob online. Rob, are you there? Rob Stewart?
Yeah, Chair, I am here. I'm having a little bit of connection problems at the moment, so I'm hoping my device will sort itself out in a second.
Okay, do you want to? Yeah, that's fine. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. I can't see you at the moment, though. That's the only problem. So.
Okay, well, you're in a very fortunate position in that case then. Let's move. Would you like to introduce your report, Rob?
Yeah, Chair, thank you very much for that. Obviously, the report covers a wide range of areas across the council. Specifically, it updates on a number of key areas of development and regeneration in the city centre, and progress against our political and corporate commitments made both at the election and since then as an administration as part of the council. So, Chair, I wasn't intending to go through the report in detail. I'm sure members have read it, but I'm more than happy, obviously, to focus on any areas that the members would wish and to add some further information to that, or to take questions if that is helpful. But I thought probably best, as per previous sessions, if I give members most of the time in terms of asking questions and looking at what's been delivered as part of my report.
Thank you, Rob. I prefer that members, that people presenting, assume that we've all read the report, which is much better in my experience as well. So thank you for that. Okay, shall I kick off the questions then? I think a lot of these questions are going to be around the major projects, as you can imagine. So on Copper Bay, your report states that all unfinished work is being completed as soon as possible, including the snagging work on site and the car park on the south side of Oystermouth Road. I think actually the north side of Oystermouth Road. Are you able to be more specific about timescales and any issues which have arisen since you last reported to us on this?
So in terms of the actions taken since we had Buckingham go into administration, as you'll be aware, we've taken steps to appoint Wilmot Dixon as the replacement contractor. We've obviously, given that the previous contractor is administration, we're having to deal with the receivers in terms of making sure that we are able to get permissions to progress the outstanding works. So a survey has been undertaken to establish the final state of the works when Buckingham ceased working on the project, and to therefore agree a plan to complete the remaining works. Now, my understanding is that is due back with the council in the next week or so, and that will allow us then to agree a way forward in terms of the remainder of the works. And the aim would be to complete those works before the end of the summer, but obviously that is the ambition. We don't yet have the formal proposal from Wilmot Dixon in terms of what works will need to be done and how long they believe that will take them. Obviously, as part of that as well, once we have Wilmot Dixon's proposals and a remaining plan, then it would lead us to also look at the packages of work that would need to be allocated out then to local suppliers, trades and others. And again, that will take a little bit of time to get underway. But those are the activities that will follow once we receive the report back from Wilmot Dixon in the next week or so. And then obviously we'll be pushing for completion of those works as quickly as possible. But the aim still remains to try and get those completed by the end of the summer.
Okay, so it's a bit early to tell. Yes, I'm sure Chris Holly's panel can pick up on some of those issues when you have that report back. The other thing is, of course, you refer to the new hotel next to the arena, and in fact, we had a report this morning at a panel meeting saying that they, on the tourism development plan, saying we need at least 3 more hotels in Swansea. So obviously that'd be very. Are you able to give us any more information about interest in building that hotel next to the arena?
Yeah, well, as you know, we ran a procurement a number of years ago, and that turned up a number of potential operators who were interested in running the groups, and they are operators who therefore would also control brands that people would be familiar with in terms of hotel chains. One of the things that's changed in the interim has been the onset of the general power of competence that now applies to councils. And one of the interesting changes in that is that councils are now lawfully able to build hotels if they wish, which we weren't able to do prior. But that isn't something that at this point we're looking to do. We're still seeking a occupier to come in to obviously run the hotel brand, and for a development partner to build that for us as part of that. We've undertaken some discussions with Welsh Government in terms of support for the delivery of that hotel, and we have secured some support from Welsh Government in order to do that, and that allows us to not just provide a square box on the seafront, because obviously it's an important part of the coastline. We've set a specific standard with the design of the arena and the facade of the arena. So again, what we'll be looking for is not only to have a high quality hotel operator there, but also a building of architectural note as part of the delivery. So that's what we've got to, and I do hope to be able to share more publicly what that will actually mean in the coming weeks.
That's great. So there's no plans at the moment to have a sort of corporate Basil Fawlty type hotel there on the front end.
Absolutely
Okay.
not.
Okay, right. Lyndon Jones, you've got questions on the arena.
Right, thanks. Afternoon, Rob. You
Afternoon.
mentioned 2 figures when it comes to ticket sales at the arena. 241,000 and 183,000. How do these compare with the business plan in the first instance? And secondly, we've held a number of events there which could only be classed as almost in-house events for, like for the region and so on, where ticket sales are free. What portion of those tickets are included in that total?
I'll need to check that in terms of the details so that I don't give an inaccurate answer, but certainly I'm aware that the arena itself is ahead of its business plan, that we have seen certainly more visitors than were expected at this point in the maturity of the operation. In terms of events, I don't believe that they are in-house events. There are certainly events like, for instance, the for the region event, which are run by an independent organisation, but we do from time to time sponsor events or partner with organisations for certain events like the Green Energy Conference, but they're not council run events. so they wouldn't be what you would consider in-house events in that respect. It's not a council event. So I can certainly get that breakdown from the team at ATG in terms of the numbers and how that differentiates between, I guess, conferences and commercial shows and others. But obviously there will also be in that the rental of the arena for things like graduation ceremonies. But I take you back to the initial concept for the arena. The reason that we went for an arena of this size and scale and configuration and a venue that can be split into a number of different configurations was to allow that multifunctional capability and to be able to host different types of events so that it can host dinners, it can host concerts, it can host gaming sessions, it can host other events, including things like graduations, because we wanted to make sure that the arena was a venue that was used for many days out of the year, not just, for instance, like a bigger venue such as the Millennium Stadium, which is perhaps pays host to events maybe 10 or 12 times a year. We wanted one that contributed to the economy, 200 plus times a year. So that's the reason for that. But certainly we'll get the committee the breakdown on the numbers that you're seeking.
Right, thanks very much. It is important. I agree that obviously people who go to the arena, they're spending money in Swansea, and it does improve the footfall. And I think that is vitally important for the economy.
Okay,
Great,
thanks, Lyndon.
thank you.
Right, moving on. Obviously, a lot of work going on in the city centre at the moment, and I just want to raise an issue which has been raised with me by a number of constituents, because, as you know, all the parking spaces behind Marks and Spencer's have basically been taken up by the developers, and now all the parking spaces on Park Street have been taken by the developers, and that means we've lost, I haven't actually counted, must be between 20 or 30 disabled parking spaces in the city centre. So I'm just wondering, are there any plans to try and replace those, maybe in Pell Street or maybe in the Debenhams car park? To a lot of people have been contacting me saying that they can't now park in the city centre with using their blue badges.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, look, one of the challenges of a regeneration programme of the scale of Swansea's is that you're going to have disruption at certain times. But I know Councillor Stevens is on the call, and I know some of his highways officers and Councillor Hopkins have made a number of visits to the city centre prior to Christmas, where they've been mapping out opportunities where we can relocate some of that displaced disabled parking. So I'm aware that the Pell Street car park is to be remarked as disabled parking. Some additional spaces in Park Street will be remarked for disabled parking, and we're also currently looking at what we can do at the rear of the quadrant near the old Debenhams entrance between the Debenhams store and the multi-storey car park where Motability is based, to see if there's any opportunity to reconfigure some spaces there. The net effect of that should be to largely mitigate any impacts of the current disabled spaces that have been taken out due to the creation of the new hub in the BHS store, which obviously we're leading on, and the redevelopment of the Burtons and H. Samuel block, which Cateys are leading on in terms of the regeneration of those buildings to bring in new tenants and to create extra living accommodation in the city centre. But we're doing what we can to mitigate any loss of disabled parking spaces at this time. I don't know whether Councillor Stevens wants to add anything to what I've said, but certainly I know he's been very active in terms of trying to find solutions to the situation that we are experiencing at the moment.
Andrew, do you want to? You have half your highways team here as well, by the way.
Yeah, no, thank you. I think Rob hit the nail on the head there, Chair. We have been looking at Pell Street, as well as not all the parking spaces have been taken by the contractors behind M&S. In fact, there should be 5 spaces, I believe, still there, with 3 being 1 hour waiting, and some click and collect as well. So it's very much something that I'm working with Councillor Hopkins and the teams on, and we should have a way forward pretty soon now.
Do we have a timescale at all? Anybody?
We've got a further meeting in the diary actually tomorrow, and then there'll be a timescale then to implement the traffic orders and that.
I should look at your officers then as well. No, okay. See if we can get that sorted though, because I think that's quite important. The other thing, I was just looking through your report the other day, and I noticed that you referred to the Hayside developments thing at Picton Yard. Just as in passing, are we still going to call it Picton Yard? I thought we decided not to use that anything more with Thomas Picton.
Well, you may be aware that Constitutional Working Group have recently considered a new naming policy, which will make its way to Council for adoption in due course. And subject to that policy being adopted, then we will have a formal mechanism for naming and renaming areas of the city. I think it's been clear that there have been suggestions that the Picton brand is one that perhaps we would want to reconsider, and I'm sure Council will have the opportunity to do that in due course. But certainly, with the significant redevelopment of not just the arcades, but the yard that connects the 71-72 Kingsway development with the Hayside development, there are opportunities for us to bring in some new names and to rebrand some of the areas of Swansea, as we've done in Copper Bay, with not just the Copper Bay development, but obviously the proposal to name the new coastal park the Mary Dilwyn Park. So there are opportunities to recognise people who've made a real contribution specifically to Swansea in the naming policy that's due to come forward.
Okay, thanks, Rob. Just so everyone can have a break from me, I'm going to call Mike White in to talk about major projects now. Mike?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Leader. What I'd like to ask, seeing that some of the major projects are now coming to completion, are you able to advise committee if any new projects are being put forward for Swansea in 2024 and onwards?
Okay, thank you, Councillor White. I mean, I think key first of all is for us to make sure that we complete on the current live projects, but certainly I think 2024 is going to be another year where we see things that were previously diagrams and impressions and artists ideas coming to fruition in the city. So we'll see the opening of 71-72 the Kingsway in the next couple of months, hotly followed by the opening of the new Palace Theatre with all of the new office space and community space that will create, and we'll see around 600 people potentially taking up the space in the 71-72 Kingsway and 300 odd people taking up space in the new Palace Theatre development. 900 people working in the city centre will obviously be beneficial in terms of our economy. Hot on the heels of that will be the completion of the private scheme to redevelop the Albert Hall, and again I visited that just before Christmas, is making good progress, and again we expect that to complete and open in the middle of the year. There's been a mention already from the chair around Hays's development, which is the first biophilic building in Wales, and we'll see the creation of a new development which is now already towering over the Swansea skyline, but bringing a really new way of living and working, but also some traditional retail into that space which was occupied by the old Woolworths store, the old Poundland store, depending on your era for Swansea. We've started, as you'll be aware, the investigation works around creating the new Castle Square Gardens, and we're committed to bringing a new design to that space. That will see the sort of delivery that the visuals that we've released publicly sort of identify, bringing in some new units there, some play fountains, more greenery, as well as more participatory space. So again, a real statement of intent in terms of wanting to create lovely green public areas within the city centre. Around Castle Square Gardens, you'll know that we're already active on the British Home Stores redo, where the new local public services hub, the library and new state-of-the-art archives will go, and we expect that to open, if not the end of this year, the beginning of next year. Then We've mentioned that there are some private schemes that are underway at the moment. So the Burton's block, Cathays, have acquired that building and will be renovating it and refurbishing it and making space for new retail as well as new office and living accommodation. They're already actively regenerating the old Mamma Mia's building opposite the Cross Keys, which again they'll complete this year, and that will bring a new visual improvement as well as new office space to Princess Way. And they have recently acquired the McDonald's building opposite on the border of Castle Square, and again keen to take the opportunity while we're redoing Castle Square to again bring new apartments and new space to the McDonald's building, to the upper floors, and to expand that building. So again, some schemes that are live or shortly to be live. In addition to that, we've been very clear the second phase of Copper Bay will begin, and plans will come forward this year, and that will see the potential new home of the council, as well as buildings to accommodate not just Welsh Government, but UK government departments, as well as our university partners and private sector organisations. There's a potential for up to 6 large new blocks of the scale of Central Square in Cardiff, outside the bus and rail station in Cardiff. It's that sort of scale of development we're talking about as part of the second phase of Copper Bay. One of the first moves will be the council moving out of the civic centre into that space, and again visuals on this will be available shortly, so that we can show people what the proposals are for that space. That will allow us to open up the civic centre site for redevelopment as we planned. Urban Splash, our development partners, I met with them this morning. I know the chief executive met with them this afternoon to receive an update. Again, they will be bringing forward the proposals for those areas, which could include the potential home of the new Contemporary National Gallery for Wales. We are in the final 5 of the shortlist for that with Welsh Government, and that would be a multi-million-pound investment were we to secure the National Contemporary Gallery. We've talked already, and we've been very clear, our intention is to bring an aquarium to that site as well, and again, discussions between ourselves, the potential operator, and Urban Splash are well advanced on that, and again we'll be able to provide some detail on that in due course. Outside of that, Urban Splash are also taking forward the St Thomas Station site, which will be primarily a housing development, adding quality housing to the River Tower corridor. And that will obviously come forward as a scheme in 2024. And then, of course, already, I won't say too much about it because I know it's a live planning application. We will get the determination of the Skyline application by our planning committee in due course. And should approval be given, then obviously Skyline would be looking to move forward with that scheme at pace, subject to all of their necessary approvals. So, you know, those are the things that are already live, but the ones that are coming next, which people in Swansea will see us take forward. And again, I've been very clear, you know, I think we've been very successful with the first phase of the regeneration of Swansea and some major interventions there. We're now seeing significant interest from private sector and others coming in to help with that development so that the council doesn't have to do all the heavy lifting. It's great to see Welsh Government and UK Government continuing to look at Swansea as a base for their operations as well as others. And of course, outside of all of that, we've also made a commitment to bring new tenants into the old Debenham store. And our agents are actively in discussions with potential tenants at present. And again, I hope to be able to announce our new tenants within the next few months. So again, work progressing on all fronts.
Is that enough for you, Mike?
Yes, thank you. Yes, it's very, very encouraging for Swansea.
Thank
Very,
you.
very encouraging.
I would note, I know, Bob, you made a comparison with Cardiff development. We have a bus station, they don't. I think that's worth pointing out at this stage. But, yeah.
We have lots of things, Chair, that they don't, including a fantastic bay.
Yeah, proper bay, exactly. Yeah, yeah. One thing you didn't mention was the Blue Eden project, of course. And I do have a question about the projected tidal lagoon, which I think is still being referred to. It did occur to me that there's a lot of new developments being made in terms of generating electricity using waves and particularly development of underwater turbines. I'm just wondering whether by the time we come to do this tidal lagoon, whether we actually would need to have a sort of massive structure in the bay, where there are going to be alternatives and where that's going to be looked at as well.
Yeah, I think, look, it's we've got to get away from the old thinking of this being a lagoon project, because it's no longer just a lagoon project, it's an integrated energy project. And in terms of the elements of that, you know, it's now whereas 100% of the revenues coming from the original lagoon proposals came from the turbines, and that was one of the challenges with it. It took a lot of time to pay that money back in terms of the investment. The new proposal includes the generation of green hydrogen. It includes the establishment of mega data centres. It includes the establishment of additional housing. It includes the original turbines, but also the potential for other energy generating opportunities around and within the bowl. So in terms of the revenues, only a small percentage, a much smaller percentage, less than a quarter, come from the turbines. The revenues come from the other elements of the scheme, that integrated energy project. But you know, progress has been pretty good in terms of all of the vast work that is required by DST and their partners. It's a privately funded project, this time requiring no public sector investment at all. It obviously requires consenting from the various governments, and it will require consent from Swansea and Neath Talbot councils in due course. I know that DST has been in negotiations with Associated British Ports about acquisition of certain elements of the land, as well as in discussions with Network Rail. And I know our chief executive has been heavily involved in assisting with discussions with various parties and helping to move things along. So I think we're getting very close to the point where a number of those transactions will complete, and that the basis for commencing works on the lagoon will begin. The phasing of the project, which DST have outlined, see the on-land elements being created first, which includes creation of floating solar within the docks, being used then as an energy source for the mega data centres and potentially for hydrogen generation, as well as creation of a district heating network. And again, we were successful in a bid for that heating network recently with a contribution from UK government. So a number of the elements that are required in order to proceed with successful delivery of a major project like this are starting to fall into place. And again, I think we're going to see some exciting announcements during 2024 in terms of progress on this scheme.
I'm just keen that we're using the latest technologies and, if possible, to avoid putting structures in the bay that aren't necessary. If you can do it another way, that's just the point I'm making. Maybe that can be taken on board when you have discussions. Any of the members got questions for Rob at all? So everyone's very quiet. No? Oh, Peter May, Councillor Peter May. Carry on, Peter.
Thank you very much, Chair. A couple of points. Good afternoon, Rob. Hope you're keeping well, and a happy new year to you. At a previous council, I did ask you about a target, a numerical target for EV charging points, and you did say you get back to me. It's coming up as green on the policy commitments report. So the first question really is: have you actually come up with a numerical target of what you want to increase the EV charging points to, please?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor May, and Happy New Year to you too. I know that question was asked at last council, and I have seen a draft of the answer which contains the metrics in it, which will be coming back to you shortly and obviously circulated to all members. I don't have that before me today, but certainly the question that you previously asked does have an answer and will be with you shortly.
Thank you very much. Second question I have is on the exciting BHS development. Relating to the provision of the archive service, will the building be the same size? Will it be, as far as the archive provision goes, will it be big enough for the archive service to operate?
Yes, my understanding it will, because one of the risks to the location of the current archives is the that once in 100-year potential of some overtopping on the bay and the basement of the Civic becoming flooded. So that's one of the drivers for moving to a new location. The work that's been done by our officers, the Archive Service, Welsh Government and others has been to ensure that not only can the archive move to a new location based within the upper floors of the old British Home Stores building, but that it will be a state-of-the-art facility capable of protecting the archive from fire and other environmental potential risks and impacts, and will allow a more central location, of course, for people to access that archive. Longer term, subject to further Welsh Government funding and other support, then we could also see other archives being potentially accommodated within the building or in a space nearby. And again, we'd be keen to explore opportunities to create an even larger archive in Swansea and to be host to that, with the relevant support being made available by the funding bodies or organisations.
Okay, thank you for that. That's very reassuring. The final question, you've guessed it, the topic's going to be about drains. I actually commend the introduction of the new software, because certainly when I've been out with a crew on my Saturdays, it's a far more efficient way of actually mapping and sort of saying when a drain has been serviced and how full it was, so you can actually set up routes for the future on that. We have gone up to 4 drainage crews, I believe. Are they fully staffed and recruited?
Councillor Stevens may know more detail than I on the exact current position, but certainly from a finance perspective, we made money available for us to enable us to increase the amount of resources in those teams. Obviously, there will always be a churn of people who join or leave the organisation or move to different roles. So I couldn't say from the information I have that every position is currently filled, but certainly the funding is there to fill every position and to make sure that the work is undertaken. My understanding as well is that, as you've said, it's led to a vast improvement in terms of the service and the capacity to be able to not only deal with block drains more quickly, but also to do those regular maintenance activities on a more regular basis. And it is something both myself and Councillor Stevens have discussed in terms of how we can continue to support that and make sure that the drainage teams and the teams that work to keep our communities free from flooding have the resources they need to do as good a job as they possibly can.
Okay, I have to say, as a member of the Archives Committee, that the committee are encouraged that we're getting there where we want to be on the archives. So it does look like we might be able to do that successfully, and I think the archivist is also encouraged. I got the impression at the last meeting as well. So hopefully we'll be able to get that move completed successfully. Okay, anybody else got any questions at all? Oh, sorry, Andrew, you want to come in on the drains, do you?
Yeah, I was just going to come in on what the leader said. Yes, my understanding is they are fully staffed, and and as Councillor May is well aware, they do some excellent work right across the city. So yeah, I just want to come in on that, please, Chair.
Okay, thanks for that, Andrew. Okay, I've got one more question if nobody else has got anything. I'm looking at the Audit Wales report on the progress the council is making around this transformation programme, and one of the things it says in there is that the challenge and scrutiny has largely been focused on process and not on outcomes and impact. I'm just wondering how you're addressing that particular issue in terms of making sure that from now on, in terms of the transformation programme, we'll be looking at outcomes and impact as well as the process of transformation.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I think, look, it was I would read that as a point in time, and I would note that the question didn't pick up the fact, and I'm sure it's not deliberate, that the overall feedback was largely positive, and that they did reference that the council had a clear transformation vision, and that the new transformation strategy agreed in November of 22 was very clear. So I think with this, what we are now looking to do is to make sure that the programme that we have does deliver. The transformation programme itself, Cabinet have looked at. We have agreed the priorities for that transformation programme. The structures, of course, needed to be set up and to make sure that we had a structure, delivery, a monitoring, and a management methodology that we were confident in. And I think Ness Young and the team have done an excellent job in making sure that that is available and in place. And again, in terms of the recommendations and the comments from Audit Wales, which have already been embedded into our programme and our methodology for delivery, the Strategic Transformation Board and Cabinet and CMT have already looked at this and now have all 12 programmes are now mapped out with all of the outcomes and relevant officers and Cabinet members identified. So we have everything we think we need now to make sure that we manage that programme effectively and we see those service improvements and service transformations completed successfully with the relevant outcomes delivered for council.
That's great. Thanks, Rob. You are right, of course. The report is fairly positive. I just wanted to pick up that particular point in terms of thing. So if there's no more questions, I'll give you one last chance to ask questions. Okay, and thank you very much, Rob, for your contribution. It's been very helpful. We'll no doubt we'll write a letter to you outlining some of the main points which we picked up in due course. So thank you very much. That item is great. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next item now, which is a follow-up on the Scrutiny Working Group on Road Safety. We've got Councillor Andrew Stevens with us. Also got Mark Wade, Director of Place, Stuart Davies, Head of Highways and Transportation, Matthew Bowyer, Group Leader, Highways and Transportation, Alan Ferris, the Road Safety Manager. We've got a cast of thousands. So thank you for that. So Andrew, do you want to do a quick introduction on this at all?
Yes, please, if you don't mind, Chair. So I'm happy to bring the update report on road safety to the Scrutiny Committee. I'm sure everyone's read the report in depth, but it highlights a number of key areas in terms of road safety from the Welsh Government 20 mile an hour legislation change, the implementation and impacts of that, the road safety grant, as well as our collaborative approach with our schools and the partnership working we're doing with Go Safe, as well as a number of other infrastructure improvements such as pedestrian countdown indicators. So I won't go too much in depth into the report, but I'll happily hand over to Alan to take members through it. But I just wanted to put on record my thanks, Chair, to Alan for pulling together the report, and our entire traffic and road safety teams, the outstanding work they've done over this last year in what's been an extremely busy year, given the national level legislation changes and pressures placed upon them, Chair. So.
Okay, thanks. Alan, we have read the report, so you don't need to read it out to us. Just any points you want to raise at all be helpful.
Thank you, Chair. I think the report kind of covers broadly the issues that were of concern to members. The one thing I would emphasise from the report is that the council have been very successful in reducing the level and intensity of collisions throughout the county, and this is highlighted in a reduction of 59% in KSI since 2010 and 80% in slight injuries in the same time period. it's made it more challenging for us as a team to identify problem areas, but it's a challenge that we're up to. I'm happy to accept any questions that the members have and the chair has on the report.
Thank you. Those are very impressive figures, actually. So very well. Right. So it's not all me. Councillor Chris Hodder, you've got a question on school crossing patrols.
Yeah, can I thank the department for their reply on what was a particularly busy working group, and that is the fact that road safety is one of those things that applies to everybody in every part of the city. One of the things that many people were concerned about was school crossing patrols, and at the end of the day, the lack of them, and what that effect will actually be, and the fact that the PHCSOs are actually being cut back as well, and what effect that would have on them going into schools to help out with curbcraft, etc. So basically, on school crossing patrols, we know, excuse me, that there is effectively an unlikelihood that we will have any increase in them. So I was wondering what the officers' view and the cabinet members' view are on how we're going to get, or how we're going to make sure that the reduction, we can carry on the reduction in any, and also stop any issues with safety around schools.
Alan, do you want to answer this? Or?
The council remain committed to the provision of school crossing patrol sites, and all sites that qualify, we continue to keep school crossing patrols on those, and we advertise any sites that become vacant. We are aware that it's challenging in some areas in particular to recruit school crossing patrols, but we endeavour to do so, working with the schools and keeping the adverts open for them.
So how many vacancies do we currently have, Alan?
I don't have that figure off the top of my head. I think there's about 15 vacancies at present, but I would need to confirm that, and I can do so and following the meeting.
Yeah, if you could, and then if you could, then obviously the same thing is how many sites we have. Because as members, I think we should advertise that to encourage people to come forward and volunteer to actually man these crossings.
Any help we can get in recruiting school crossing patrols will be most welcome.
Yeah, if you could also say, Alan, any school crossing patrols which have been discontinued as well, that'd be quite helpful.
We don't have any sites which we have discontinued.
Okay, because I don't think my neighbour's been replaced on that Langwellock Road.
Pardon?
I think my neighbour's been replaced on Brynhoof School.
Sorry, I'm not saying that we've been able to recruit replacements.
Yeah,
but
it's a recruitment issue rather.
A recruitment issue
yeah, okay.
rather than a removal.
Okay,
of
so there's nothing been discontinued. It's just a recruitment issue.
No.
Yeah. Okay, Stuart. Sorry.
Yeah, the only areas where they've been sort of discontinued is in discussion members where they've been swapped for formalised crossing points, but that's in agreement with the ward members. So just in case, just to clarify on that one, but there's no sort of active thing to. We're not removing crossing patrols, but as Alan said, it's particularly challenging to try and recruit into the positions. So hence there are a number that there's an ongoing advert really for a number of the areas, but it's very difficult to recruit. Thank you.
I'm not surprised. There are days I don't want to go out in this awful weather as well, so I'm not at all surprised you're struggling. But let's hope we can get that recruitment sorted out. Okay. I'm just talking about safety out of school. I noted in the letter response last year that you said an arrangement with a major local employer who provided financial support for banners outside schools on road safety had expired, and the road safety team would welcome the opportunity to reintroduce these measures and continue to seek partnerships through the commercial team to support this activity. I'm just wondering, do we make any progress in that over the last 12 months at all?
I'm afraid not. It's the pressures on the team have been such that that's not been a primary focus in the last 12 months.
So and you presumably don't anticipate that pressure easing up at all, and
Not till the end of March.
Okay, right. Okay, my next question is about Curbcraft and road safety education programs. Have there been any developments in the Curbcraft program? For example, developing a module on encouraging walking to school and general active travel?
The Curbcraft programme is a national programme. We don't set modules, they're set by Welsh Government, and we are required to deliver those modules. It is an area of concern, it does need updated. It has been raised with Welsh Government, but we're in their hands to change the modules that we have to present.
Okay, Mike White, you got on this as well?
Yes, thank you, Alan. On the same point as well regarding Curbcraft. In your report, paragraph 2.81 states the current programme is aimed at to provide road safety training to 1,500 year 2 children. That's around 60% of the total number of children in the county. Can you indicate how many primary schools participate in Curbcraft and would be involved?
Year on year, the number varies slightly, but roughly speaking, it's 50 schools out of the 74 primary schools that there are in Swansea.
So that's 2/3 in effect, is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there any drive to perhaps encourage those other schools to participate?
We work with schools who are interested in working with us, but we are also limited by the size of grant that we have available to us from Welsh Government for the delivery of the programmes.
I know as well it obviously relies on volunteers, there's goodwill of parents and that taking the training up, but it's just to try and find assess to where we are at the moment. Thank you, Alan.
So we're looking to develop a programme so that we can create links for parents to become more involved with the help with their children after the Curbcraft programme's completed. So we're looking to use Council's website to create a link for parents to see what the modules were that were followed and allow them to build on the limited time that we have with children to develop their skills further.
Okay.
If there would be a possible, can I come back, Chair? Would there be a possibility to have the schools actually asking, through the school's website they contacting the parents on a daily basis and do this type of scheme for us to encourage people to come forward?
And we hope to do that with the literature that we send home with the children, to make that link available to parents so that they can directly access the council's website.
Okay, Mike.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, Sue Jones. You're muted at the moment, Sue.
Yeah, I couldn't unmute, sorry. I just wanted to comment on 2.3.3 of the report, where it says about Cecil Road and the removal of the speed humps due to resurfacing. Locally, it's really been a very good move to get rid of those speed bumps because we had an excessive amount in the village. And in fact, they're looking forward to the resurfacing of Gorwith Road and the same thing to be happening there, because we had an excessive amount throughout the village. And I'm sure that the speed limits are adhered to on Cecil Road. I see very few going over 20 miles an hour.
Okay. I've got an opposite problem. I've got speed cushions that have been removed over 6 months ago that haven't yet been replaced. Is there an issue with supply of these or something else? I think there's about 7 missing on Pentragethen Road and St John's Road.
I'm not aware of an issue with supply. I can chase up on that for you, councillor, to find out when those will be done.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Anybody else got a question? Andrew Stevens, you want to come in?
Yeah, no, thank you, Chair. I was just going to come in on Councillor Jones's point. I know you say there's an excessive amount in the area, but you were, as local ward member, consulted on the road safety grant scheme at the time. Although they have removed from Cecil Road, you know, any removal of speed humps has to come with speed cushion, sorry, has to come with clear data, in fact, that speed is no longer an issue anyway, you know, rather so we don't see them return. So I know the road safety team have carried out some monitoring, so they've done before and after. So once, you know, we'll have to await the results of that data anyway. So
Thank you, Andrew. I think consulted is a little bit of the wrong word, can I say? I think I did ask for help after the entrance of Gowerton Comprehensive School, but it did not envisage the amount of speed humps or bumps, whatever they're called, to be installed. Okie dokie. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, right, thanks. Just on your workload, the road safety grants, I mean, we basically haven't had it for 2 years running because of the 20-mile-per-hour issue. I'm just wondering, what's the impact on the department's work of not having access to that road safety grant, and what projects have we lost as a result of that?
What we've lost is difficult to quantify because we didn't have it. And the impact of that, you know, when you introduce road safety measures, it takes a number of years before you can evaluate the success of them, because, you know, statistically, you know, there's not accidents every day that so it would take a number of years before you can look at the merits of it. There will be impacts, but undoubtedly that will be clouded by the impact of the change in the default speed limit. So it's going to be difficult to pick our way through what the changes have caused for Swansea.
So if I turn it on its head, if the road safety grant comes back next year, do you have a number of schemes to bid for it?
We have a limited number of schemes which we are looking at the moment. As I indicated in my report, we've been very successful in reducing the numbers and severities of collisions. That tends to play a significant part in Welsh Government's assessment of any bids that we put forward for road safety funding. They require us to do a cost benefit analysis of schemes that we develop, and that is measured against the reduction in collisions that we can anticipate from the schemes worked up.
Okay, so the cost of being too successful is we get less money, possibly, but the money should be directed at the most effective projects.
That's the challenge we face.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Peter May.
Thank you. Happy New Year to you, Alan, as well. Shared use paths, yeah. It sort of links into sort of two aspects here. One is obviously signage, which I'll come on with a second question in a minute to you. Shared use paths, some people get them, some people don't. There are a couple of things going on here. If I was walking down the Kingsway where they have a shared use path, or some other recent active travel sort of plans, I noticed that the signage of them, the little roundels, let's just say it wasn't laid on as the best quality, so people wouldn't actually know it's a shared use path, because the paint's come off. I mean, we've got incidents of where pedestrians on the sign, I hasten to add, have been decapitated, or bicycles have got wheels missing, and so the actual setting of them isn't quite there. So I'd like to, you know, I'd ask you a comment on like a refurbishment program of on-road or on-path signage, so people do know. An idea I picked up when I was walking the Thames Path in the summer was they've got various aspects of shared use paths on them, and they've actually got like a clear sort of message on the path to cyclists, as it's a shared use path, saying be mindful of pedestrians on there, because a couple of people have had near misses. So I was wondering whether the authority might consider that as an option on the way forward. So 2 points really: renewal of the faded, or the signs that have been prematurely sort of decapitated or wheels lost, and the idea of actually putting a little message on the path, priority for pedestrians. I'll ask the other question in one, and that is road safety. I'm all for implementing new schemes and things like that. I want to know, particularly sort of at junctions and things like that, I see a lot of the signage sometimes is either dirty or has been rotated. We've got a particular instance in my locale on the Glanbridge Berners Street, where signage is either dirty. A stop sign is dirty, so it's either you can't see it, or somebody has got a perfect view of it from their living room because it's rotated through 90 degrees, or it's obscured by trees. So I think something there, if people are aware of hazards, is there some sort of a program to inspect, such features on the signage we've already got, such as I said, obscured by trees, incorrect rotation, and covered in muck?
I thought, Peter, with your activist background, you'd be there with a bucket and spit.
Okay.
I thought you had. Yeah. Okay. Alan.
If you could highlight these things to the highways desk, then our teams go out and do action improvements and cut back and clean signage. It's a revenue issue rather than a capital issue, as you've highlighted. There are teams out there doing that, but there's a whole county to cover, and we rely very much on reports coming in of where select signs are, select missing, obscured, etc. With regards to the shared use path, I take your note with regards to paint being missing, and if you could give me indication on where those are, then we can try and pick up on that and see how extensive the problem is, and perhaps look at the methods which we are using to fix the paint. With regards to the sign itself, we have got quite large shared use path signs which we try and use to indicate it's the responsibility of all users to use the path safely. Just highlighting it as being a cycling issue, I don't know would be entirely useful. We need to make all users aware of their responsibility, not just cyclists.
Sorry, if I can come back on that, yeah. Obviously, I'd be the last one to discriminate against the cyclist. I was scrabbling through my phone to look at the example of the exact wording that Hammersmith and Fulham used on it, but it seemed, not to point the finger at anybody, but just as a gentle reminder, because after all, the pedestrian is walking at about 2.8 miles an hour, which is my average speed, and the cyclist is doing substantially more. So it's a mindfulness thing.
No, I take your point entirely about speed differentials. It's to try and make pedestrians aware that they need to look out for cyclists as much as cyclists need to look out for them. But yes, I take your point that the speed differential for cyclists is much greater.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's various initiatives. Sort of share with care, I think, was the sort of drive on a lot of them, because although we do get the occasion, well, we do get some sort of representations about kind of cyclists going at inappropriate speed. We also have issues of people reporting, for example, dog walkers, and particularly with extending leads and things where the dogs are going, and so there is that sort of just a general awareness. It is difficult because I guess the people who are less sort of concerned with sharing with care. The signs have very little effect on them, but I agree, having some sort of initiative to help remind that it is a shared use path, and there needs to be an awareness is something of which is of some use.
Okay, I think there's a couple of signs on the Kingsway by the old post office where the paint has disappeared on the shared use path as well. Yeah. Andrew, did you want to come back in?
Yeah, no, I was going to come in and say what Stuart said actually is the share with care. We do it. I know we do it on the prom. We do it in a number of other active travel routes across the county. So yeah, I was just going to come in on that really, Chair. We also do periodically put out comms as well via our comms team in terms of trying to reinforce that message that it's everyone's responsibility.
Okay, there are parts on the seafront where it's very difficult to actually separate out when it gets quite narrow, but you know, you just have to do your best, don't you? Yeah. Chris Holly, come on. Chris.
Thank you very much. Can I congratulate Alan on his answer to the 20-mile-an-hour road safety grant allowance? That was a superb answer, and one that I think the steward should congratulate you on. It was good. The simple fact is that we've reduced all these accidents without having the reduction to 20 mile an hour. So we have been successful, and as you rightly pointed out, the Welsh Government and the Department of Transport actually allocate money where there's been more accidents. So, you know, we don't get as much money because we've been successful in the past. There is one thing I'd like to point out, though, is probably the most ridiculous junction that we have created ever. And that is on the bottom end of Pentrygethyn Road, where this junction where it goes into the Swansea in West Retail Park, where Marks and Spencer's is. We have a shared path which crosses the junction. We have a halt sign before the shared path, and we have a halt sign the other side of the shared path. I have to say, it does make you wonder, and it does start people concerned about the active travel when we see things of this nature. Generally speaking, I think shared paths can be okay, but if you're on the prom, and I think Stuart's right about the dog walkers and the extended leads, there's a problem. But generally speaking, you know, shared paths can be a problem. In some issues it's fine, in other issues it isn't. But I would say that, you know, we have been unsuccessful because we've been successful. And I don't think that goes down well with the public, because if they see something which is dangerous, or they see traffic which is dangerous, they want something done about it. But if nothing happens, nothing will get done. And I think that's a hard one to sell to the public.
We're going to have a competition for the most ridiculous junction.
Well, yeah, why not?
I nominate joining Fabian Way from Jersey Marine. Will you go into the fast lane? Okay, do you have comments on that at all, Alan, or anyone?
Sorry, all I would say is that we'll continue to monitor the junction, and as we do, and should we require to make any amendments to it, to make any tweaks, then we will do so based on the evidence that we gather.
How'd you answer?
Yeah, yeah, good answer. Thank you, Alan. Thank you very much.
Wendy
Answer.
Fitzgerald.
Outstanding answer.
Thank you. I'm trying to make sure I can be heard. I assume you can hear me. I just wanted to give one or two councillors a little bit of reassurance, because we are blessed in Pentrygethyn with a very long stretch of separated active travel routes, but then of course areas where there are shared use, becomes a shared use path. And the word of comfort is none of the active travel route is very well used. and the cyclists continue to use the road. So, you know, food for thought. What do you need to do to ensure that your active travel route, your shared use path is not a risk to pedestrians? Well, you know, provide the road for the cyclists, because quite frankly, it is something that is very frustrating to residents in Pentlegare, and I'm sure it's the same in other places where they know that very considerable sums of money have been spent on providing the active travel routes, the shared use paths, and in Pentlegare it has caused great stress for residents and continues to cause great stress, and yet they see the cyclists still on the road holding up the traffic. So, you know, clearly what we have in Pentlegare is a deterrent to cyclists, it appears. So I don't know if that's any comfort, but come and look at what we have and see if you can get the same. Thank you, Chair.
This is a bit of an old chestnut, so I don't know if you want to comment on this or just have a site visit.
Could I comment on this one?
Andrew, yes,
I'll have a
welcome.
site visit. Andrew, have a site visit on a bike.
I'm often up and down Gosainon Road, to be honest, Chair, and as Councillor Fitzgerald know, I'm in the adjoining ward actually, and part of which this active travel route is within. I disagree with it. Yes, there are still cyclists that use the road from times, but I disagree that it's unused. In fact, I've seen plenty of runners on there. I've seen plenty of walkers. I've seen mobility scooters. I've seen families out with 2 children or multiple children out trying to enjoy, get out, get active. Which is a lot of what the active travel is about. And not only that, does it bring a link from the top of Pentlegare down to the fantastic links from the bottom of Gosainon out to Pontydylais there, with the new route going down the old railway track. But also if you go the other way, which has all been upgraded as well, it gives you almost off-road access all the way out to Mumbles, to be honest, on a bike or walking or what have you. So yes, there are cyclists that still use the road. They're allowed to use the road. That's the legislation. But there are also cyclists that use the active travel route, in particular families, young children, giving them a safe access off the road. As we know, there's an awful lot of cars coming through Pentlegare, something that you have actually said time and time again, Councillor Fitzgerald. It gives them a safe access down Gosainon Road, with linking up to the wider network. So I do disagree that no one uses it.
Okay, we'll move on. Victoria Holland. You're muted.
Ability to use
Councillor
my
Holland.
phone. That wasn't great, was it? Technology was failing me there. As somebody who lost my wing mirror last week on Gosainon Road while visiting my parents, I'm slightly bitter about it. And of course, I'm on the neighbouring side, on the other side. There is so much traffic on that road. And a lot of them are big lorries. My mum and dad live there. And it's just, I do not understand why we're getting the level of big, huge lorries going that way when there are other routes around Pentlegare to Gosainon, to Tlethley, to the other places they're going, you know? So it was just more of a comment. But yes, lost my wing mirror, was not happy with it. But again, it's such big lorries going up and down that road, it just blows my mind.
Okay, that's been noted. Peter May, you want to come back in?
Councillor Fitzgerald has actually provoked me into action on this one, but it is road safety relevant. In the design of these active travel routes, I looked, you've got, if I was to explain the family tree, you've got our good friend Mr. Stuart Davies here at the top of this family tree, and then it diverges down to Alan's team, and they're regarding road safety, and then you've got the active travel design team down the other branch. Now, I like, and I think, is that your branch of the tree, Matthew? So you down Allen's Branch, but one thing that has been noticed in the current upland scheme is that we were given a presentation with the original proposals, and a lot of the things that I previously sort of asked for, regarding sort of either sort of calming measures or one way, were considered no-nos by Allen's Branch when it came to presenting the design, because they would have been what Alan would perceive as road safety nightmares when I've had conversations with him before. So what I want to know is how much communication is going on with the active travel design phase, namely Simon Jones is our current officer. We've had people like Robin Meredith before, which is very good on the Broadway scheme. In talking across to the road safety team when putting a design together, because clearly some of the the initial designs were road safety no-nos, but it's so do they go up through you, Stuart, and then back down Alan's Branch, or is there cross talking on these? Do the cousins talk to each other is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I can
all together, Stuart.
yeah, I can certainly give you a reassurance
As
that-
the head of the family.
That's one happy family. So, I mean, obviously, we there is a challenge when you're developing the active travel schemes. Is we have to try and balance between a number of different things, from from trees to parking to traffic to sort of the pedestrian demands, the cycle demands. There are a whole load of different things. But what I can assure is that the teams do work very closely together. We're very regular, aside from the informal discussions which are held on pretty much a daily basis. I think a confirmation on there, but we do have as well regular sort of programming and meetings.
Hi, Cyril.
to-
How are we doing?
So we
Yeah, I'm
have,
just, I've done my bit on scrutiny, but
I'm not sure. So I think, yeah, there's we have very regular discussions when we're developing the schemes. Obviously, road safety is paramount. It's paramount for all users, particularly the most vulnerable users are at the top of the tree from that perspective, because the nature of the users themselves. Every scheme that's developed goes through various stages of safety audit as well, so that's undertaken in the initial sort of scoping the design. But yes, it isn't something that's done in isolation, and the family don't fall out. They may sort of have a number of points to put forward, but it is developed collectively. So I don't know if Matt or Alan want to add anything to that.
No, I would just reiterate Stuart's point. We would be involved with the development of the active travel scheme, but we have a separate safety audit team who would look at the plans once they're developed at all stages of the development, from the initial sketches that are provided through to the detailed design and through construction process once the scheme's finished, to ensure that safety issues are addressed in the design.
Okay.
That's very reassuring that you're a very close functional family. I can sleep at night tonight.
I have to say, I'm really looking forward to getting involved in the Bryn Hyfryd active travel route when that comes to be designed now. Yeah. Any more questions at all for Andrew or for the officers on this issue? No? Can I thank everyone very much? And can I just say, by the way, I think the highways team are doing a really good job, considering the work pressures which you're under, and the fact you don't really have enough staff to do all the work you need to have. So thank you for all the work you're doing, and I'm sure I've given you lots of problems after this now, which you can sort out for me. Thank you very much. Thank you everyone for that report. Okay, I'm going to move on to item. Thanks, Andrew. Yeah, I move on to item 8 now, which is the Scrutiny Performance Panel Progress Report. And this is Child and Family Services. Councillor Paxton Hood-Williams has been very quietly listening to us for the last hour or so. Paxton, do you want to say any few words to introduce this report?
Sorry, Chairman, I'm always quiet. You know that very well.
I know that, Paxton, yeah.
Okay. Anyway, in terms of this report, obviously, members will have had quite a comprehensive report already in their agenda pack. And since we last just told you what we've been doing since we last reported. Consequently, I don't really think I need to add anything to it at this stage. However, if anybody would like any further information on the update, I will be happy to try and answer them.
Okay, has anyone got any points or questions they want to raise on this report? No, thank you very much then, Paxton. That's very, very helpful and
I can go.
important.
I can go back to being quiet now. Then, can I, Chairman?
Okay, yeah. See what the snooker's doing in the background then.
Television's off.
Right, thanks very much. Okay,
Okay.
item 9 is membership of scrutiny panels and working groups. There's no changes being proposed there. Item 10 is the scrutiny work programme. You'll note that the final sessions of the scrutiny training and development programme are coming up. There's one tomorrow online, and then the final one is on the 23rd of January in the Lord Mayor's reception room, which is going to be in person. So there's going to be basically self-assessment. So if members are able to attend those, that'd be great. And then, of course, on the next meeting in February, we're going to be looking at delivery against the workforce development strategy, and David Hopkins will be with us for that. So unless anyone has any points on the forward work programme at all? No? Okay. Then the scrutiny letters is item 11 for information. And item 12 is the date and time of upcoming scrutiny panel working group meetings. So can I thank you all for attending? It's been a very helpful and constructive meeting. Finished in good time. So thanks very much. And I will see you at the next meeting. And I declare the meeting closed. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
We stop recording now. Yeah. I did see the snooker in the background earlier, Paxton.
Pardon?
I did see the snooker on in the background earlier.
Yes, I realised I'd left it on, Peter, and I thought, oh, I better put that
I
off a
also
bit
noticed
quick.
you weren't watching it, so that's fine.
That's okay then.